Okay, hi everyone, so I'm Smithy Q, and welcome back. This is game 14 of the annotated game section. This one's nice because it's actually going to start with D4 um, instead of E4 like almost every other game, but also this is Capablanca, the legendary third world champion, one of the most dominating chess players of his era, of almost any era, really. And his opponent, Friedman, who I don't know much about, plays almost in the style of modern internet blitz players. And so this, I think, is especially useful, um, especially applicable, perhaps especially compared to some of the other more maybe esoteric games, if you will. We're going to end up playing. We get to a regular Queen's Gambit position, which I've talked about a little bit in a previous game. Um, I think one of the hardest moves to understand has always been this move for me. So it's always a book move. And they say it's the main line, yada. But it's funny, isn't it? Because it doesn't develop a piece. It doesn't help develop a piece. I mean, what? Am I going to bring the queen out over here? Is that really the idea? Why is it so good? And just for the record, the reason it is so good is because we're trying to discourage black from playing d5. So for instance, if white were to play, for example, knight f3 or normal development move, that lets black put his pawn in the center. He's got complete control over this. And it's fine. By playing c4, we're stopping d5 because we can immediately take it. And no matter how black recaptures, let's just do this. This is the most common. White has two pawns in the center. We're going to be able to push forward with e4. Let's just do that right now. The best move here is bishop goes to d3. And white's got complete, huge control of the center. Life is great. So that's the idea. And that's why black doesn't play d5. Black ends up playing e6, knight c3, d5. We've got a very standard position. And what's really nice about this position is that the following moves all completely follow the opening principles. So you don't have to know anything about this to play it well as white, at least to get out of the opening. What do we want to do? We want to develop all of our pieces. So let's develop this bishop. Where do we want to put it? Yep, g5. Makes perfect sense. We're going to play e3 so we can develop our other pieces, right? Black, he plays knight goes to b, d7, reinforcing the knight. Makes perfect sense. Knight f3. Black plays c6. This is the old-fashioned way of playing. Black puts his pieces on. They're all reinforcing each other, right? His bishop is breaking the pin. Knight is protecting the other knight. Complete little pawn wedge that's supporting d5. Complete control of the center. All this is fine. It's just modern taste suggests that this is very, very passive. Black doesn't really have an active plan here. White ends up playing rook goes to c1, which is a sly move because this tempts black to play takes and then takes. Let's just back up. If white were to play the normal move, like bishop goes to d3, now after takes, we have the exact same position, but our rook is over here. So by playing rook goes to c1 first, black then made the mistake of taking on this. And so essentially, white has developed his rook for free. And as we know, time is everything. These little things, where you're able to get a small lead in time, often turn into big things later. Now, black's idea, this is a relatively well-known plan nowadays, is to play b5, kick the bishop away to play bishop goes to b7. So that is, the whole idea is we want to put this bishop here. Again, we back up. We look at this structure. Where's this bishop going to go? Absolutely nowhere, right? All the pawns are on light squares. And so how do we develop that bishop? Black's idea is to take. Sorry, he takes. So he can push b5. Then he's got the bishop on b7. So black just needs one more move. He's got to be able to play c5. Well, this pawn's going to hang. So maybe he needs two moves. He can play a6, then he can play c5. Bishop's on a huge, wonderful diagonal. And I've noticed that a lot of modern internet players, like blitz players, bullet players, all those, they really like this idea of putting the bishop on b7, especially because it aims at the king and there's some fun attacks that are possible. Just sort of a rant. Now in this position, Kappa ends up playing a4. Now you might ask, is this an unnecessary pawn move? And you're right, it is. It's better to castle. A4 makes a lot of sense in a lot of these positions. Like thematically, positionally, strategically, and all that. but simply castling and playing a4 at opportune time was best? Because the problem is here is b4. What's the move White wants to play? White would want to move his knight over here to e4. But there's a tactical problem. We can take, bishop is hanging, and after the exchange, there's knight takes f2, hitting the queen. And so after takes, when the dust is settled, black is actually up a pawn. So that means White can't play the move he wants to play. He has to play bishop takes f6 first. Now, this isn't the end of the world, but this does mean that black has the two bishop advantage. And so that's why a4 was premature. White should have prepared it more so we didn't have to give up the bishops. Anyway, black then plays knight goes to d7. And so black has just been playing wonderfully up till now, with the exception of that losing one time, but then he plays knight. Why does he do that? It seems he's avoiding an exchange. He doesn't want to exchange the knight. Okay, we're going to castle, and then he plays f5. So we see the real reason. He moved the knight so that way he can then advance this pawn. And then after knight goes to g3, plays h5. Do you see what I mean? If you've played any amount of online blitz, bullet, right, just about anything, you're going to see people that do this. Once you castle, they just throw their pawns at you. So how should we react? Again, as we know, the opening, it's not about attacking, it's not about winning material, it's about time, it's about development. White is fully developed. Literally every piece is developed. Black is not developed. He's not castle. I guess this rook is sort of active because it's helping push the pawn, but certainly this isn't. And his king is in trouble in the center. Well, let's go after it. Queen goes to b3. If this pawn falls, black is just in huge trouble. And because black is attacking prematurely without, completely finishing his development, he's actually got a little bit of a problem. It's not easy to defend that pawn. Are you going to do something really passive? Like knight goes back to f8? Oh, that's not going to help you. He ends up playing rook goes to h6. And now, it's possible to keep the pressure up. For example, bishop c4, absolutely fine move, just completely attack on. Maybe black will play h4, chase the knight back. Other bishop goes to d6. And do we see again, I'm talking about sort of like what internet players seem to like. I've seen something like this a lot. And we can see how we can throw the queen over here as well. Sure, take the pawn, white, but I'm going to throw everything at your king. Now this, says the computer, is completely bogus. It's losing, it's all, I think we call it hope chess. It's possible to make a mistake. If white makes a mistake, he's going to get checked. Capablanca was renowned for his ability to stop counterplay. And so he doesn't play this. He actually plays a different move. Sort of a different idea, the same thing. He ends up playing bishop takes f5. I love this. Why? Take. So he sacrificed a piece for two pawns, but most importantly, he's completely stopping all of black's play. Let me just delete some of these. So again, backing up, let me just sort of compare this position right now. Where look, queen is now threatening to come in g8 check. Knight, huge bone in the throat, best piece on the board. This other knight ready to jump into e5. Black's attack, nowhere to be found. And the cost? Well, technically, black, okay, it's a piece for two pawns. So it's like you're giving up one pawn for a dominating, huge position. Now compare that with what we just saw. Well, with all these pieces aimed at the white king. I think even though white is doing better here, says the computer, I think it's much easier for white to make a mistake here than he would be by doing what Capablanca did and entering this variation. All right, rook's attacked. What do you do? He ends up playing rook goes to g6. All right, now the queen slides in. Okay, what do? Bishop goes to f8. Knight comes to h4. We can see the problem. This rook, it got developed early. I mentioned in the course how if you develop your queen early, it can be attacked. It's the same thing with the rooks. The most valuable pieces, when they get attacked, like you got to move. You can't just leave that rook there. Rook goes over to f6. And now there's a little finale. We take with check. Oh, it turns out that the bishop is pinned, so there's nothing there. That was the second reason. Sorry, I just explained this. Why we're attacking this rook is because right now the rook is the only defender to g7. By pushing the rook away. Now knight takes g7. Knight slides in. He takes, but it's actually checkmate. Black tried to attack. He was thinking about attacking, and white just completely turned the tables on him. I think this was an excellent practical decision for one of the greatest practical players of all time, going backing up. So what happened? Again, so just in general, whenever you can take advantage of a lead in time like this, that was great. Now the rook didn't actually play any active part in the game, so I mean it's not great for this example. But whenever you can win time like this, compared to, for example, playing bishop d3 first and getting the same position without the rook, we always want to strive to gain as much time as we can. But I think the most interesting part is how Capablanca dealt with this attack. He, of course, brought the rest of his pieces out, getting ready, and as he saw the awkwardness of Black's pieces, right, his rook's over here, king is still in the center, is there a way to take advantage? Sacrificing a piece for 2 pawns, the equivalent of giving up 1 pawn, something we've done so many times throughout this course, and it gives you so many threats, so many options, and I think perhaps most importantly, Black has no attack, Black has no play. This, I think, is the ideal way to deal with this sort of play. And so it's something worth taking an eye on, and we'll just look at again. The pieces are just able to jump straight in, and then it turns out it's the king in the center that is the death knell for Black, as it should be. You got a castle, keep your king safe. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Um, I certainly did. I'm not going to ramble on. That's game 14. We're in the home stretch now. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.